Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight, inshallah, we are doing our third class from the Tafseer of Imam Al-Qurtubi rahimahullah. We are busy with Surah An-Naba, and we are tonight, inshallah, we had read the ayat last week, but we are continuing in the halfway of the tafsir, which we are actually starting tonight from ayah number 12 of Surah An-Naba, and that's where we will begin for tonight, inshallah. Now, there's a number of places that I will end up skipping over here because of the depth of the linguistics that it goes into. You know, for a linguist, it's deep. So for a normal person, it's beyond deep. But we'll just skim over it and move on. But let us begin. We are starting over here at this point of the ayah. وَبَنَيْنَا فَوْقَكُمْ سَبْعًا شِدَادًا, and we have built over you seven strong things, meaning the seven heavens. أي سبع سماوات محكمات أي محكمة الخلق وثيقة البنيان. That Allah has created above you samawat muhkamat. Muhkamat means solid. That muhkamatul khalq, a solid creation, wathiqatul bunyan, with a firm foundation. You know, it's this skies that Allah has created above us. It's something which is solid and firm. It's not something that's going to, you know, the sky's not going to fall on your head, in other words. وَجَعَلْنَا سِرَاجًا وَهَّاجًا, and وَجَعَلْنَا سِرَاجًا وَهَّاجًا. That's ayah number 13. And Allah has made therein siraja wahaja, a burning lamp. Obviously, you can delve into the tafsir much deeper with regards to the linguist of the thing. So let's look at it a little bit. So you say, ay waqada. Waqada means something which is bright, which is shining, which is fiery. Ay wahiya shams. It is the sun. The light which is bright, which Allah has created, is the sun. That's what Allah is referring to. وَجَعَلْنَا سِرَاجًا وَهَّاجًا refers to the sun. وَجَعَلَ هُنَا بِمَعْنَى خَلَقَ. And when Allah used the word جَعَلَ, جَعَلَ literally means to make. Or to put, you know, but here he's saying that the word ja'ala, and in other words, if I were to verbatimly translate it, and he has placed, for example, that's how you would find it often translated, and he has placed therein a bright light. So he say here the placed, meaning that Allah has khalaqa, that Allah had created it to be placed there. لأنها تعدت لمفعول واحد okay. لأنها تعدت لمفعول واحد. This is what you know in Arabic, in linguistics, in Nahu, as lazim and mutaaddi, and so here تعدت is from the word mutaaddi. In other words, the sirajan wahaja is both linked to one and the same thing. والوهاج الذي له وهج. Wahaj means that thing which has a brightness to it. وهج يهج وهجا ووهجا ووهجانا. You know, when you are doing in your sarf, wahaja yahiju wahajan fahuwa wahiju wahuhija, you know, the whole pattern down like that through all the various scales. So anyway, he's just showing that the way that the word wahaja is used. So he says, وَيُقَالُ لِلْجَوْهَرِ إِذَا تَلَأْلَأَ تَوَهَّجَ. He says that when, now this is, all of this is linguistics. Tonight's tafsir on this thing deals a lot with linguistics. So he says that when a gem, jawhar means a gem, a diamond, things of the sort, إِذَا تَلَأْلَأَ, when it, you know, it twinkles and shines like that, you say تَوَهَّجَ al-jawhar, that the gem is shining. وقال ابن عباس وهاج منيرا متلألئا. Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, he translated wahaja as something which is munira, nur from munir, something which is bright and shining. So that's how the وَجَعَلْنَا سِرَاجًا وَهَّاجًا is translated. Moving on. وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ الْمُعْصِرَاتِ مَاءً ثَجَّاجًا. And Allah has sent down from the mu'sirat. And we'll touch on mu'sirat shortly. But simply put, it means clouds. But we'll touch on it a little bit deeper. And we have sent down from the clouds abundant rain and abundant water, to go as verbatim as possible. قال مجاهد وقتادة والمعصرات الرياح. Imam Mujahid and Imam Qatada rahimahumullah, they translated mu'sirat as the wind, which is not exactly the best translation, but you'll see it shortly what the better translation is. He says, وقاله ابن عباس كأنها تعصر السحاب. Now, I'll touch on a point with regards to the word ta'asir or mu'asirat shortly, but anyway, we're just dealing with the first opinion, which is وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ الْمُعْصِرَاتِ, and we have sent down with the clouds abundant water. So that's the first opinion of Imam Mujahid and Imam Mujahid and Imam Qatada rahimahumullah. They interpreted it as being from the clouds, and you'll understand why at a later stage in the tafsir. But now he reports from Hadrat Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma وعن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما أيضا أنها السحاب. The more correct opinion, and this is what is reported from Hadrat Abdullah ibn Abbas رضي الله عنهما as well, is that mu'asirat refers to the clouds. Sahab is another name for clouds, in other words. That's the more common name for a cloud. وقال سفيان والربيع وأبو العالية والضحاك أي السحائب التي تنعصر بالماء ولما تمطر بعد كالمرأة المعصر التي قد دنا حيضها ولم تحيض. And this is the most accurate translation of the word mu'asirat. Imam Sufyan, Imam Rabi', Imam Abu al-Aliya, Imam al-Dhahhak, rahimahumullah, they translated it, they said that mu'asirat means as-sahaib, the clouds, plural, allati tana'asiru bil-ma, that ones which are like, they are, you know, if you use the word asara ya'asiru, it means to squeeze. You asara al-'inab, you squeeze your grapes when you are making now wine and stuff like this here. So you know, when you are looking at the you know, the if a person wanted to look at the Quran from a scientific perspective, then there's so much scientific knowledge in this these ayat of the Quran that the person comes to the conclusion that definitely this is from Allah, because nobody else, especially at that time in the world, could have known these things. So you notice over here that Allah has named the clouds. Today people have got cirrus clouds, nimbus clouds, cumulonimbus, you know, stratus cloud, you know, all the various names they have given for clouds, modern names that they give to them. But Allah has given the name for rain clouds 1400 years ago. Moreover, the usage of the word mu'asirat gives another, from a scientific perspective, that something that they only learned now the other day, that mu'asirat, the word itself, you know, when you delve into the linguistics of the word, it denotes the fact that heavy clouds, heavy with rain clouds. It's not, you know, back in the old days, people didn't know how rain came. You know, it was like, okay, apart from the superstitions and stuff that people had, but back in those days, people didn't know how rain was actually worked. And in today's time, apart from the rain, but Allah tells us that the clouds are heavy with the rain. Up until recent times, the scientists and them, they believe that clouds were weightless. You know, it's as fluffy and light as a cloud. You can float there with the clouds because the cloud weighs nothing. But in recent times, the scientists have come to the new conclusion based on their new research in this late day and age, that an average cloud, that white fluffy cloud that you see there, can weigh up to 1,000,000 pounds. You can say roughly 500,000 kg. 500,000 kg is the weight of a cloud, and that cloud, which Allah is the only thing keeping that 500,000 kg cloud in the sky, is Allah. This is something that the kuffar themselves today have realized, that yes, clouds do have weight. And obviously, the more rain there is, the heavier the cloud is. But Allah told us this 1400 years ago. So, you know, every time when you look at the Quran, any aspect that you look from whether it be from the scientific perspective, whether it be from the point of the balagha of the words, you know, nothing in the Quran is used willy-nilly, just for the sake of it. Oh, okay, it's a synonym, I'll throw it. No, if you really look at it, and sometimes one mufassir may overlook something, and at another time another mufassir may notice something, because as people's knowledge increase more, they tend to find more, like as I would put it, from a scientific basis. So they can say that this same ayah, which we were interpreting this way, which still remains as such, but we can see it from an extra angle now as a result of modern science. So science is not what is important. The Quran is what is important. Science which contradicts the Quran obviously is wrong. But we see that nowhere in the Quran did Allah put out something like this here, and then it ended up being wrong. If Allah has put something out and that this is how it is, then that is how it is. And science, who disagrees with it, well, one day when they actually get the knowledge, they will come to agree with it. And this has been proven many times in the past. But any case, so when you look at the I use the word the squeezing of the grapes, the asara ya'asiru. So okay, question over here. Should we interpret the Quran in a scientific way? When the Quran is a book of science, not a book of science, to use that famous quotation. So we don't interpret the Quran in a scientific way, but what Allah has given us in the Quran here is signs. It is from the signs of Allah. So when Allah has given you a sign and science also sees it that way. The reason why ulama even make mention of these sort of scientific things is for the reason that there are many people whose iman is weak, and there are kuffar whose life revolves around these sort of things. Many people of these type of kuffar, through the miracles of the prophecies, the scientific miracles, as they call it, that are mentioned in the Quran, they ended up becoming Muslim because they could see that this was something that up until the recent times people did not know, yet it was told to us in the Quran 1400 years ago. So they said there is no way that this could have been mentioned except if it came from the Lord of the worlds, and they accepted Islam as a result of it. So we are not going to deny the scientific facts in the Quran, but we say that the Quran is the guiding factor, not science. So therefore, we don't interpret the Quran in a scientific manner, but we say that the Quran conforms to science in the sense that where science is correct, the Quran agrees with it. And where science is incorrect, the Quran disagrees with it. Because the Quran is the criterion, not science. But anyhow, that's with regards to the scientific perspective. So I was mentioning from the point of the asara ya'asiru, the squeezing of the grapes, and this year. So السحائب التي تنعصر بالماء ولما تمطر بعد. The clouds which تنعصر بالماء, they are like they are so full of rain ولما تمطر بعد, but they have not yet rained. In other words, when you look and you see the nimbostratus clouds all over in the sky, it's those dark gray ones. They fat and heavy, and you can see them, and the rain is going to come anytime now. We can get a cloud burst or anything of the sort, so the rain is going to come out. وَلَمَّا تُمْطِرْ بَعْدُ, but it has not yet rained. He says this is وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ الْمُعْصِرَاتِ. Those mu'sirat, this is what is being meant here, or at least this is what is being meant by al-mu'sirat. He uses it, he says, like a woman, al-mu'sir. The term mu'sir is also used for a woman, التي قد دنا حيضها ولم تحض. A woman who is close to menstruation, but she hasn't started to menstruate yet. So, it's like the signs are there. Before the rain comes, maybe you see some drizzle come, and then the rain actually comes. So it's like a woman knows, it's like my period is about to start now, but it hasn't yet come. So he's using it in that same context, because the word mu'asir is also used for a woman. Of course, he'll touch on many different points of what the word mu'asir, the many meanings of the word. But anyway, now just, with Arabic, a lot of it is proven from the point of the olden times poetry. So he says, قال أبو النجم فكان مجني دون من كنت أتقي ثلاث شخوص كاعبان ومعصر. I'm not going to translate the poems, because at the end of the day, it's simply high level to say things that we already are understanding as the norm in English. So, let me read the next one anyway. It says, وقال آخر وذي أشر كالأقحوان كالأقحوان يزينه ذهاب الصبا والمعصرات الروائح. So he's simply proving that معصرات, meaning this, from the point of olden times Jahili poetry, in other words, from those days. Because when a person wanted to prove from an Arabic perspective that this is how a word is used, then the primary reference source would be from the poetry of Jahiliyyah. That's how the Arabs in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the mushrikeen, If somebody didn't understand something, those who were well known in poetry, they would say, yes, this word here was used in that poem by so and so, that Bedouin and that one who was a master in Arabic and used it in this manner. Thus, the way that the Quran uses it here is correct. And that was, in fact, another of the linguistic miracles of the Quran. That way, the Arabs or the Quraysh were prided themselves on their knowledge of Arabic. You know, they were the upper class, the highty-tighty people and all. And you know, it's like if they didn't know Arabic, who did? And yet, there were times when Allah had put out an ayah in a certain way, and those who knew, they sat back and they looked and they said, we couldn't make it as eloquent as this. And others who may have had a doubt, then those who knew better would tell them that you can reference this poem over here. And then they would see that the Quran used knowledge or used words that they, in all their highness and knowledge of Arabic, the Quran used words that have slipped from their minds, but yet is proven from the language itself. And so that is what, you know, it all went towards convincing them of the truthfulness of Islam. He says فالرياح تسمى معصرات يقال أعصرت الريح تعصر إعصارا إذا أثارت العجاج وهي الإعصار والسحب أيضا تسمى المعصرات لأنها تمطر. He says, so the wind, the word معصرات can refer to the wind because it is used in this manner in Arabic. And he says أعصرت الريح, that if I were to translate it, that the wind brought the rain. But he says وَالسُّحُبُ أيضا, and the clouds also are also known as mu'asirat. So in other words, we've got two interpretations over here. That وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ الْمُعْصِرَاتِ, that we have sent down with the clouds rain, and we have sent down from the clouds rain. And you'll see the difference shortly in this regard. He says وَقَالَ قَتَادَ أيضا الْمُعْصِرَاتُ السَّمَاء. Now, Imam Qatada, he's got a third interpretation thrown into the mix over here, that وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ الْمُعْصِرَاتِ, and we have sent down from the sky abundant rain. So we have sent down from the clouds, we have sent down from the sky. You know, the most correct opinion is that of the cloud, but there is no harm, even if we took the clouds are in the sky, the what you call this thing now, the wind is in the sky, and of course the sky is the sky. So all three words, they are linked to one another. You know, when you look at the linguistics of the Quran, words are not used randomly, and words have depth to it that most times people don't even think about it. An example I always tend to give is, if you take a word like Jannah. Everybody knows the word Jannah. What does Jannah mean? It means a garden. Okay, well and good. Next one is the word Junnah. People may have looked in a dictionary. Junnah means a shield. Okay, fine. Then there's a third word, Jinnah. Okay, not Jinnah of Pakistan, but Jinnah. Now, Jinnah, if you open a dictionary, it will tell you it means madness. But the word is written Jim, Noon, Ta Marbuta. All three of these words, three separate words. What is different between them? A fatha, a kasra, and a dhamma. That's what's different between all three of these words. And yet, the words, the letters themselves have brought in specialities which links them all. So if you look at the word Jannah, what is Jannah? Jannah means a shaded garden, not just a garden with a lot of shade. When you look at the word Junnah, it means the shield. What does the shield do? It shades you from the blows of your enemy. And if you look at the word Jinnah, which means madness, what is it? It's that which shades your intelligence and your ability to understand. So three words, three different meanings, but because the root letters are the same in all of them, so therefore there's a common thread which links them all. That's the depth of the Arabic language that, you know, we don't tend to even look at it. We open a dictionary, okay, it says madness, it says garden, it says, and we tend to take it that way. But the language has such depth to it that the more you delve into it, the deeper you find the language to be. And this is the type of speech that Allah uses in the Quran that you see, you may overlook it because you're looking in an English translation, Urdu translation, or even if it be a tafsir, and you don't explain it through its full extent. So you don't get to see the real depth of how deep the ayat really are. But anyway, I've digressed. Let's come back to the kitab. It says النحاس هذه الأقوال صحاح يقال للرياح التي تأتي بالمطر معصرات والرياح تلقح السحاب فيكون المطر والمطر ينزل من الريح على هذا. He says, Imam al-Nahas, he says that all of these statements, that it's the sky, that it's the clouds, that it's the wind, he says all of this is correct because it said about the wind that التي تأتي بالمطر, that wind which brings the rain clouds. So where he's making the distinction or the clarification, it's not simply the wind, it is the wind which blows in the rain clouds. So that is what is being referred to as mu'asirat. So those who said that mu'asirat refers to wind, they meant this wind, not our breezes over here, but the wind which brings rain clouds specifically. It says وَالرِّيَاحُ تُلْقِحُ السَّحَابِ, and the wind, so to say, like let's put it this way, it cuts the clouds and thus the rain comes out of it. And the rain comes out of the clouds, comes out ينزل من الريح على هذا. So the rain comes down from the wind in this manner. So those who said that they interpret it as the wind, this is how they ended up to that conclusion, because from a linguistic perspective, there's no harm in what they are saying. He says ويجوز أن تكون الأقوال واحدة. He says it's also possible that all of these statements can be summarized and made to be one view without any contradictions. He says ويكون المعنى وأنزلنا من ذوات الرياح المعصرات ماء ثجاجا. He says if you were to translate the ayah and put it in this manner, وَأَنزَلْنَا, and we have sent down مِنْ ذَوَاتِ الرِّيَاحِ الْمُعْصِرَاتِ, from those clouds which are blown by the mu'siraat winds, مَاءً ثَجَّاجًا, that rain which is abundant. He says وَأَصَحُّ الْأَقْوَالِ أَنَّ الْمُعْصِرَاتِ السَّحَابِ. But he says, but everything put aside now, the most authentic and accurate of all the statements is that al-mu'sirat, in the ayah, it refers to the clouds. He says كذا المعروف أن الغيث كما I think it's supposed to be كما أن المعروف أن الغيث منها. He says كذا المعروف أن الغيث منها, like how it is known that rain comes from the clouds. So obviously, to say that it's from the clouds, there's no harm in it. He says ولو كان بالمعصرات لكان الريح أولى. He says that if the ayah read as such, saying وأنزلنا بالمعصرات ماء ثجاجا, then yes, the most authentic view would have been to say with the wind. But the ayah say وأنزلنا من المعصرات, not بالمعصرات. بالمعصرات means with المعصرات. من المعصرات means from المعصرات. So rain comes from the clouds. It don't come from the wind. The wind brings the cloud. So if the ayah had been read as وَأَنزَلْنَا بِالْمُعْصِرَاتِ مَاءً ثَجَّاجًا, we would say yes, and we have sent with the clouds, with the wind, abundant rain. But Allah had said وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ الْمُعْصِرَاتِ. So because of the word min being used in the ayah, the linguistics again, if because of the usage of the word min in the ayah, this shows that what is being meant, because mu'asirat has got multiple meanings. So the most accurate meaning in this case here refers to the clouds. Thus it is mentioned from the mu'asirat, from the clouds. He says وفي الصحاح والمعصرات السحائب تعتصر بالمطر وأعصر القوم أي أمطروا ومنه قرأ بعضهم وفيه يعصرون والمعصر الجارية أول ما أدركت وحاضت يقال قد أعصرت كأنها دخلت عصر شبابها أو بلغته. Coming back to the same thing which we mentioned earlier, he says it's mentioned in the Sihah that al-mu'asirat means the clouds which squeezes out rain, in other words. And وَأُعْصِرَ الْقَوْمِ, when the word is used, أُعْصِرَ الْقَوْمِ, meaning that it rained upon them. And he says, you will find وَمِنْهَا هُ قَرَأَ بَعْضُهُم, some of them recite وَفِيهِ يُعْصَرُونَ in Surah Yusuf, and from it they get the rain. Anyway, so he says وَالْمُعْصِرُ الْجَارِيَةِ, same what we mentioned earlier, that al-mu'sir, this word is used also for a girl that the first time she reaches of age and she has her menstruation, then it is said قَدْ أَعْصَرَتْ. He's just showing from a linguistic perspective that the word i'asar, mu'sir, mu'sirat has been used in all of these contexts. Thus, all of this is part of what the word actually means. Okay, this is another poem over here. قال الراجز جارية بسفوان دارها تمشي الهويني ساقطا خمارها. Okay, قد أعصرت أو قد دنا إعصارها. He says والجمع معاصر ويقال هي التي قاربت الحيض لأن الإعصار في الجارية كالمراهقة في الغلام. سمعته من أبي الغوث الأعرابي. Okay, a lot of repetition over here. He says that al-ma'asir is the plural form. It refers to that girl that has come close to the age of menstruation, because i'asar in a girl is like al-murahaqati fil ghulam, like how murahaqa, as you would say, in other words, like let's put it this way, reaching the age of bulugh, where a boy is concerned. You think I heard this from Abu al-Ghawth al-Arabi, the Bedouin. Because why the Bedouin? Because the Bedouins are, or at least they were, people tend to think of a Bedouin as someone who is a dihati, some jahil, bewakuf person. But the Arabis in those days were the people who were like masters in the poetry and the knowledge of Arabic and stuff like this. Yeah, so thus they would go to them when they wanted to know what does a particular word mean. Okay, let me see how much time we are running short of time. So we have got all of this that we have done here tonight, and we have not completed this one portion of the ayah. We'd actually have to reach till here in order for us to finish it. So let's see quickly how much we can do. إذا قال غيره والمعصر السحابة التي حان لها أن تمطر. يقال أجز الزرع فهو مجيز أي صار إلى أن يجوز، وكذلك السحاب إذا صار إلى أن يمطر فقد أعصر. Again, a lot of linguistics simply saying that معصر means a cloud which is near to releasing its water. So anyway, moving on. وقال المبرد يقال سحاب معصر أي ممسك للماء ويعتصر منه شيء بعد شيء. He says سحاب معصر, a cloud which is holding a lot of water within it. ومنه العصر بالتحريك للملجأ الذي يلجأ إليه، والعصرة بالضم أيضا الملجأ، وقد مضى هذا المعنى في سورة يوسف والحمد لله. وقال أبو زبيد صاديا يستغيث غير مغاث ولقد كان عسرة المنجود. Okay, we're skipping all of the poetry. ومنه المعصر للجارية التي قد قربت من البلوغ. Same thing we've mentioned about 5 times about a girl who's close to reaching the age of بلوغ. يقال لها معصر لأنها تحبس في البيت فيكون البيت لها عصرا. So he's saying, yeah, simply the different way, that a girl who's close to the age of bulugh, she's being kept at home, so therefore her house is like a place that is keeping her in. وفي قراءة ابن عباس وعكرمة وأنزلنا بالمعصرات والذي في المصاحف من المعصرات. قال أبي بن كعب والحسن وابن جبير وزيد بن أسلم ومقاتل بن حيان من المعصرات أي من السماوات. Okay, he says that in the qira'ah of Hadrat Abdullah ibn Abbas and Imam Ikrima, they had read it as وَأَنزَلْنَا بِالْمُعْصِرَاتِ. But he says what is in the Mus'haf is that min al-mu'asirat. This is mentioned by Hadrat Ubay ibn Ka'ab, Imam Hassan, Imam ibn Jubayr, Imam Zayd ibn Aslam, Imam Muqatil ibn Hayyan, that min al-mu'asirat means from the samawat, from the heavens, from the skies. ماء ثجاجة. Okay, we probably won't get too far, but let's see the little bit that we can do. ماء ثجاجة صبابا متتابعا. ماء ثجاجة means literally, if I were to give a simple English translation, abundant water. صبابا متتابعا, continuous soaking rain. عن ابن عباس ومجاهد وغيرهما. They mentioned by Hadrat Abdullah ibn Abbas رضي الله عنهما and Imam Mujahid and others. يقال ثججت دمه فأنا أثجه ثجا وقد ثج الدم يثج ثجوجا. He's saying ثججت دمه, I caused his blood to flow. In other words, like I cut him and the blood flow. So he's using the word ثججت ثجا to show ثجاجة here. It means things which flow, water which flows. So he says, وَكَذَلِكَ الْمَاءُ فَهُوَ لَازِمٌ وَمُتَعَدٍ وَالثَّجَّاجِ. Okay, لازم ومتعدي, I made mention of these linguistic terms earlier. Anyway, so وَالثَّجَّاجُ فِي الْآيَةِ الْمُنصَبُّ. ثجاج in the ayah means that water which pours. وقال الزجاج أي الصباب وهو متعد كأنه يثج نفسه أي يصب. You know, to translate it into English, it sounds like a whole lot of the same thing, like I'm repeating myself over and over, but all of these words sound as synonyms in English, but in Arabic it got further depth which English cannot explain. But anyway, as-sabbab means that which pours a lot. Question over here. Okay, question over here. What did you mean about a menstruating woman being kept at home? In other words, when a girl, when she's a little girl, she's about 3-5 years old, those ages, she's playing outside. Now, when she reaches the age of bulugh, she's a girl now, she's not playing outside there anymore. To put it in the sense here, she's reached the age of bulugh, now she's become a woman. So she's not out there, if you understand better what I'm trying to say. Okay, he says here وقال عبيد بن الأبرص فثج أعلى ثم ارتج أسفله وضاق ذرعا بحمل الماء منصاحي. وفي حديث النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه سئل عن الحج المبرور فقال الأعج والثج. He says in a hadith, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam was asked with regards to an accepted hajj, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said it is al-aj and al-thaj. So فالعج رفع الصوت بالتلبية. Aj in this hadith means raising the voice with the talbiyah, and which is labbaik Allahumma labbaik, you know, and wathaj here iraqatu dima wa dhabhul hadaya. Thaj here means shedding the blood and slaughtering of the animals that you are bringing with your hajj. You know, part of your hajj is to slaughter the animal. So he's showing that even from a hadith perspective, that thajjaja means something which flows. You let the blood of your animal flow. وقال ابن زيد ثجاجا كثيرا والمعنى واحد. He said, Imam Ibn Zayd, he said ثجاجة means كثيرة, abundant. So من المعصرات ماء ثجاجة, water, abundant water. He says, and the meaning is the same. Okay, we've got about 4 minutes left and possibly about too much to do, but let's see if we can quickly push it in. قوله تعالى لنخرج به أي بذلك الماء. We have sent down with لنخرج به, so that we may bring out through it أي بذلك الماء, through that water حبا كالحنطة والشعير وغير ذلك, so that we may bring out with it seeds. He says like you know, the wheat and barley and all other forms of seeds that Allah bring out, ونباتا, and vegetation. He says من الأب وهو ما تأكله الدواب من الحشيش, like the grass which the animals all they go around and they eat it. All of this comes as a result of Allah sending down that rain. وجنات وجنات الفافا, as the ayah is continuing, وجنات أي بساتين الفافا أي ملتفة بعضها ببعض لتشعب أضغانها. He says that وجنات and gardens or alfafa with entwined branches, to put it this way. ملتفة بعضها ببعض, they are like wrapped and rolled on top of one another, so entwined they are. لتشعب أغصانها, so that the branches they like interlink with one another. ولا واحدة له كالأوزاع والأخيار. He says that alfafa, he says there's no singular for the word, it's just a singular plural word. This is one opinion. He says like the word أوزاع and the word أخيار. He says وقيل واحد الألفاف لف بالكسر ولف بالضم ذكره الكسائي. One of the great linguists, Imam al-Kisai, he said that no, it does have a singular, it's the word lifun or the word lufun. Both of these words are the singular of this word here. 2 minutes left, let's see how far we can go. He says قال جنة لف وعيش مغدق وندام كلهم بيض زهر. Skipping past. وعنه أيضا وأبي عبيدة لفيف كشريف وأشراف. Another linguist says that the singular of the word alfaf is the word lafif, like the word sharif on that same pattern. وقيل هو جمع الجمع. Another opinion says it is a plural of a plural. حكاه الكسائي. This is mentioned also by Imam al-Kisai رحمه الله. يقال جنة لفاء ونبت ألف. That a جنة لفاء, a garden which is, if you would say, full of trees and branches and everything like this. ونبت ألف. He says والجمع لف بضم اللام مثل حمر ثم يجمع اللف الفافا. He says that the word is actually like lufun with dhamma on the lam, and then this lufun is made a plural of it, and that's how it end up become alfafa. Anyway, all of this, a lot of linguistics, it goes over the head of the normal person, so we can skip all of that. إمام الزمخشري he makes mention ولو قيل جمع ملتفة بتقدير حذف الزوائد لكان وجيها ويقال شجرة لفاء وشجر لف وامرأة لفاء أي غليظة الساق مجتمعة اللحم. He says that if you were to say the plural is ملتفة بتقدير حذف الزوائد, he says that would be you could also interpret it that way. He says شجرة لفاء وشجرة لف, you can say a tree, very shaded trees. He says, Imra'atun laffa, the word laffa is also used for a woman. It means a woman with very thick shins, and she has a lot of flesh on her. In other words, she's fat, to put it simply put. وقيل التقدير ونخرج به جنات الفافا, and we bring out from it lush gardens. فحذف لدلالة الكلام عليه. So it was cut off because that it's understood that is how it means. ثم هذا الالتفاف والانضمام معناه أن الأشجار في البساطين تكون متقاربة فالأغصان من كل شجرة متقاربة لقوتها. So he says that all of this, the linkage is because the trees are so close to one another, and so the branches link up with one another, and thus it becomes a very lush garden. Okay, we got a couple of seconds left, so we end on this point here, inshallah. Next week we will continue on from the next ayah. Until then, wa sallallahu wa sallama wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad. Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi